This is section 5. He hit the clouds running and never looked back. What should I say or not say when someone dies? We have talked about titles and identifiers. I have several I love and many I do not love. Daughter, granddaughter, sister, wife, mother, grandmother, believer, friend, significant other, caregiver, widow, single parent, orphan, survivor, death expert. People have laughingly decided that I have received my honorary PhD in death. So to that end, I have compiled several tips as to what to say and what not to say to a survivor. Also, please remember, this is my opinion. I have postcards I have created with this information on the front and the back, and I'm happy to mail that to anyone who would like it. It's also on my website, KathyWeaverKC.com. What do you say when a survivor when a loved one has died? I know you must be in such extreme pain. I hope your memories bring you comfort. If you're attending the services, you could say, those photos are so precious. Someday they will make you smile as your tears dry. If you have not experienced the death of a parent, child, sibling, or spouse, you could say, I cannot imagine how hard this must be. I cannot imagine how you took care of all the moving parts for this beautiful tribute to your loved one. Or if you have experienced a similar death, you could say, I know how hard this is, and I am so sorry for your pain. Do you have any phone calls I could make for you or even with you? I bet you feel totally topsy-turvy and foggy right now. Please be patient with yourself. This is not easy. If you are close to the person and you're in a relatively private location, you could say, tell me what it was like those last few days. Were you able to be there? Did you have hospice? What was that like for you and your family? These are questions that are private, but usually the survivor wants to talk about this. The more you say it out loud, the more real this experience is, and it could help the fog lift. Has your immediate family been helpful or not so much? Sometimes these conversations are just a chance for the survivor to talk about anything besides death. With these questions and these statements, you are validating the pain of that survivor. Tell me specifically what you need. I want to help, and I know better than to say, call me when you need something, because no one ever does that. Or you could say, I'm going to be here next Tuesday at 11 to find out what you came up with that I could help you with, or if I could go get for you, or if I could take you out. A close friend could even say, as you know, I have a large network of business professionals. Would you like me to have Mr. or Mrs. ABC help connect you with DEF? Think about that too. Be specific here and make sure the professional you suggest is the right person to help the survivor, friend, or extended family member. Can you just imagine what your loved one would think about this glorious tribute you created for him? I know he would be proud and honored for living a life with you that touched so many people. If there is a grave, you could offer to go with the person to check things out, perhaps after the marker has been placed. Going there after the services is a chance to make sure everything is settled and all is well with the loved one. The survivor may never go back there again, or they may be a weekly, monthly, yearly grave visitor, but at least you offered the first time or two to join her. Here's something you could say if you have a great personal relationship with the survivor. I know this sounds impossible as your broken heart tries to heal and make sense of your loved one's death. But now that you have received your PhD, DD, personally having dealt with death degree, and I know someday you will put in the circumstance to help someone else survive. This is the pay it forward part in the most intense manner. Everyone has to go through this, and you're now ahead of the curve. Do you have your PhD, DD? personally having dealt with death degree? Another way to say that would be, in a very sad way, you are now part of the club that absolutely no one ever signs up for, but those in the club totally understand. I am so sorry. This is an example of something to say that could always be appropriate. I am seriously so impressed by how you are putting one foot in front of the other each day. How are you really doing? Again, don't worry about the tears. Cry with her. When I was washing my car, I thought of you again. Would you like me to take you to get your car washed? Or would you like me to take it for you? This is another excuse to get her out of the house and back into the swing of things, doing necessary yet mundane chores. Or, I'm going for a massage today. Would you like to join me? My treat. We could go to lunch afterwards if you'd like. We can always play that last part by ear. This is the time to keep in mind that sometimes too many outings are stressful. Sometimes it's just what the doctor ordered. Sometimes today's just not that day, and being at home feels best. Stay flexible as you offer to help. The fog will lift, very slowly perhaps. How are the kids doing? Are you able to talk about their dad, grandma, sibling? The survivor may be most understandably concerned about the kids, but not able to deal with them effectively right now as her own heart is shattered. This is yet another opportunity for a reminder. I have discovered that there is no right way to handle death and bereavement and grief. Each of us is as different as our thumbprints, and each of us copes with circumstances very differently. As the friend of a survivor, let her give you the clues. This could be a time to suggest a professional. This could be a time to offer a church team to step in. This could be a time for praise and worship, music or books, or even just a hug. Each of us walks our grief journey very differently. Above all, be kind and patient. Now, what perhaps not to say to a survivor when a loved one has died? And again, remember, this is my opinion. The most common is, I am sorry for your loss. This one causes me to bristle. Yes, I'm overly sensitive on this topic, I get it. But if I had lost him, I could find him again. He was much more than a loss. He was my life. I always said about my husband, he's my reason for taking breath every day. So now I say, Jesus is my reason for taking breath every day. And what about he's in a better place? What? His best place to be is by my side forever and ever. This is what I signed up for. This is the part about until death do us part. And this was way too soon. He's no longer suffering, no longer in pain. What? Now I'm the one suffering without him. If there had been a period of long and prolonged chronic illness, the relief that may be felt by no longer being the full-time caregiver is usually short-lived. Those days and nights are now empty, very, very empty. Please, no ham or chocolate cake or peace lilies. This is a little aside for me because this was actually posted on one of my social media platforms soon after I published this book in 2017. And one person actually reached out and said, what are you talking about? No chocolate cake or ham or peace lilies. I ate so much ham and chocolate cake and I got so many peace lilies. It was a huge comfort. Well, that's lovely. But again, my opinion, everyone handles grief differently. This usually makes the giver feel like they're doing something helpful. But oh my gosh, what will we ever do with all this food? The peace lilies, in my case, caused my home to seriously look like a funeral home. And now I was faced with the stress of trying to keep these things alive. That being said, if the person's network is large, the need for food items for the obligatory grief buffet may be helpful for those doing the preparation. If the person is now a small family, all this food brings an overwhelming feeling of what now? What to do with all these meals? Even though bringing food or flowers makes you feel better, ask a close friend what the survivor may need or want at this time. After having over 22 years to learn about this subject, I know now that all the flowers and plants could be offered to a nursing home or assisted living facility, and you could be the one to help the survivor with that delivery process. or do it for her. If there is any chance for humor during this fog time, I'm always amused when someone, even at the funeral, says to the survivor, he or she looks so beautiful. What did you say? Well, in the personal instance of my own mother's funeral, I had my remaining little brother with me to make the final arrangements as my remaining little sister was making all the relative and friend phone calls. I showed the funeral director a photo of our mother and I said, please make sure she looks like this again. Mother had suffered terribly the last months of her life with her disease, and it had taken quite a toll on her appearance. Lo and behold, Mother looked amazing as we celebrated her life. Is there vanity even in death? Yes. No loss is trivial, but this is not a time for one-upmanship. My loss is bigger, harder, more intense than your loss, etc. Just don't go there. Most friends and family are totally all over the surviving person in their family for those first couple weeks. Then comes the first Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, graduation, Father's Day, 4th of July, vacation, birth of a grandbaby. OMG, the firsts are so tough. Where are those support people now? If you know the survivor has a large network, you may choose to wait a month or so before you take her to lunch, invite her over for dinner, out for coffee, or even to send a I'm thinking about you card. You could do these invitations or cards after the first year or on the anniversary date of the death. Trust me, the survivor has not forgotten, regardless of the length of time that has passed. Just a note to let her know I'm thinking about you today speaks volumes that you have not forgotten her loved one and the impact he had on lives all over the community. Never, never worry about making the survivor cry or tear up. You didn't make that person cry. The loss of their beloved and trying to put one foot in front of the other alone now makes them cry. And sometimes I have found these tears to be therapeutic. Ultimately, this will be a heart tug that they will remember about you, for caring about them and their loved one enough to say his name. Never be afraid to bring it up. This is a good one. Never say, at least you have your kids, or your parents, or your great friend. It doesn't matter who's left. The loved one is gone forever until they meet again. If a child has died, regardless of their age, never say, thank goodness you have other kids. OMG, never. Here's a good one that was said to me after my husband of 17 years and 12 days died suddenly. Honey, I know exactly how you feel. My husband is going on a golf weekend next month, and I'm going to be a golf widow. I can totally relate to you as I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to get all the kids to their activities and my job and the house. Oh my gosh. She wasn't kidding. I will never forget this one. I'm sure she was severely uncomfortable being around me and could only relate to me this way, but holy moly, another thing not to say. Now for one of the biggies for me, when someone's spouse has died, never, ever, never, ever say, you are so beautiful. There are plenty of men out there. I know you will marry again. I know you will find another husband. OMG. There is always a silver lining. Stay tuned for section 6.